So, hi Oyin, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good stuff. I am doing great. I'm doing great. So this is just a follow-up from our last conversation, which we spoke about what to do if you just received a message from someone online or an email, or they called you saying that they want you to do your their branding for a business, and we thought about pretend business. We did some role plays, which was really fun. But before we go on to that, you asked me a question about Fiverr, and you said, like, because when you're freelancing at the moment, and said one of your main things was you're finding is it can be hard to find clients sometimes. And so give me your thoughts around Fiverr. Why did that come up in your mind? And
so Fiverr, because someone actually mentioned it to me and I checked it out, and I actually went through the website and I thought, like, this could be a legit way to get my brand out there, because like I said, yes, it is difficult, like, finding clients. I mean, I can do word of mouth, but like it can only go so far sometimes. So I guess I'm using Fiverr because I felt like it was the best way to get my brand out there and get like clients.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's a very good start. I'll tell you I have thoughts about Fiverr.
Okay.
I just wanted to share that. And I'm not saying it's wrong to use Fiverr or it's right to use Fiverr, each to their own, really. But I used to be a lot more negative about Fiverr back in the day, mainly because I didn't like their marketing. So their marketing was they've changed it now because, before they were being quite problematic. They will basically insult people like high value designers. They'll say, there's no need to go to these boutique agencies or these people that are charging you too high for a website or a logo. Just go on Fiverr and get a logo for 50 quid or £5 or $5. And I was just like, that's very disingenuous, because in their whole marketing campaign, they hired a boutique agency to do their whole marketing and branding. Yeah. So I was just like, this is very dishonest of you. And just because you have a value proposition, you don't need to talk smack about other people who are just making a living. But since then, I've changed my stance on Fiverr a bit. It's evolved a bit. And I feel like Fiverr is right for the right client or the right creative. So if you're just starting out, I would say go for it and sign up to Fiverr and see how it feels, because there's a lot of people that have actually found a lot of success on Fiverr. And they created very, very successful businesses out of Fiverr. And they just created their own avenue. But I think it's a very good place to start if you just want to kind of build your brand, like you said, and get some stuff in your portfolio. Let me just move this mic. Some stuff in your portfolio, and just kind of get things out. So for someone that's, that is more concerned about getting like initial work and not so much about getting a lot of money, I would say Fiverr is a very great place to start. Or Upwork. There might be some other
Upwork?
ones. Upwork, yeah. Upwork is also a good one. One thing you should stay away from, though, I would say categorically stay away from them, is design competitions. Some people feel like that is a good opportunity to get work or to get clients. But if you go to any website that says there's a design competition saying, designers can bid to win these clients, but in order to bid, they need to submit work, and then the client chooses the best one and pays the person that wins. I would say stay away from those, because it's a waste of time, because you're competing with so many people and you don't get that time back, and that time they're using to design in these competitions can be used to be finding other clients that will pay you much more easily. So stay away from those. But Upwork and Fiverr, make a start with that, see how it feels. It's also a very good way to kind of like really just develop your style and develop your strengths and all that kind of stuff. What I would say is that when it comes, for the most part, use it but know when to stop, because with Fiverr, the main issue about Fiverr and Upwork is that there's no kind of like the barrier to entry isn't there. So there's people who would say they're graphic designers, but they're not really. You see what I mean? So it can kind of cheapen the industry. That's why I don't use it, because it's like,
Yeah.
okay, people start expecting you to get a logo for $5 or a website for
Yeah.
$50. And it's like, really, you generally get what you pay for at the end of the day. But
Yeah.
people end up expecting all creativity to be that price of things. So the warning I would say is don't fall into the trap of cheapening your work, because you have to compete with other people that are cheap.
Yeah.
But if you just want to put the feelers out, I used one before called People Per Hour, and I think it's only here in the UK.
Okay.
And that helped me get a couple of clients, which was cool. But it's more for like people tell you what they want and you give it to them, rather than the kind of personal stuff that I'm doing with you right now. Generally, you don't get that extra value from Fiverr. So if you want to move beyond that,
Yeah.
you can do both. You can do Fiverr and you can do your word of mouth stuff as well.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But let me know how that goes. Like,
I will.
I'm very interested in seeing how it works out for you.
Thank you.
So yeah, so let's move on to the main thing, which is your branding. So last time we talked about what if someone calls you, and we did our whole role play thing, and assuming that someone has actually says, okay, I like what you've pitched to me, I like the price, let's go for it. You collect your 50% deposit and make a start. What do you do next? Right? What would you normally do in a project? Let's start there.
You said after getting the deposit?
Yeah. What's the absolute first thing that you normally do?
Is this for like specifically branding, or just like any
design? But branding is absolutely fine as well.
Okay. Typically I don't start off digitally with anything. I use my notebook, and I plan out everything on pencil and paper, and then I just break it down from there. I try to get as detailed as I can with pencil and paper before I go on the computer, because I find it very frustrating to start off on the computer. Like, it can get annoying. So once I feel like I've gotten enough down, like written down, then I'll start transferring everything like digitally and like bringing it to life. That's what I start off with.
Cool. Yeah. You've got the right idea. I would say, to supplement that, what I would normally do is, what you would normally do is to give more value to what you're giving them, is I would actually do a workshop with them, which is a brand strategy workshop. And this is where you can ask them all the detailed questions about what they want and what's good for them. I want to see if I can show you an example of something that I would normally use. And I'll see if I can bring it up on the screen.
So is this
template that I sometimes use? Go on.
Is brand strategy workshop, is this kind of the discovery session, or was the discovery session?
Yes. The discovery is a follow up to the discovery session. So the discovery session is the phone call that you have with someone, just to find out, if they're right for you, if they're a right fit. But then the next thing would be the strategy session, which will be to talk about their goals, talk about their target audience, talk about, their values and all that kind of stuff. And I'll show you an example of what they should normally, the kind of questions that you would normally ask them. So if you just bear with me, I'm going to get something up here. All right. And I'm going to zoom in, because last time you couldn't see, what I was writing. Okay, cool. So you don't have to use a worksheet, but like, this kind of helps. So let's go to a tab. Discovery worksheet. Cool. So here we are. So can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay. So I have this kind of thing as a guideline that I use. I don't always use this, but I like to take, before I start sketching anything, before I start brainstorming anything, I like to take them through something that's a bit like brand therapy. And I split up the brand into several sections. So who, which is about them, and their target audience. Then I've got the what, which is their what they have to offer, what they actually do, and then the why, which is like the core values. And I'm gonna send you this as a template that you can formulate your own questions.
Yes,
But
please.
the kind of things that I would so don't worry, you can use it as a template, and you can define it however you want. But I would basically make a worksheet that I can refer to, and I'll say, okay, the first stage we need to do is sit down with you and for like a one session where I talk about your whole brand, talk about your characteristics, your brand positioning, your ideal target audience, your and your core values. And it's just you asking them a range of questions. So I would say, okay, how would you best describe the characteristics of your brand? They might give you some words like calm. They might give you some other words like neat, warm, experience. These are all examples of stuff that, people would normally use, and you can also add your own. So there's also associated feelings. How do you want people to feel when they interact with your brand? Or do I want them to? Some of them will say motivated. Some of them will say empathy. Some of them will say joy. And then brand archetypes, I'll go over them another time. But brand archetypes are basically a type of profile that a brand has. So they can have a jester, which is a bit like fun. They don't take anything seriously. Or they can be like a hero, which is all like motivational, inspirational kind of stuff. I'll send you that in another session. But you don't need to think about this for now. Then the target audience, you need to talk to them about their niche and get really specific about the person that's going to be buying that product. And they can be questions like, how old are they? What's their occupation? Where are they based? What's their lifestyle? What are their skills? What are they passionate about? What's stopping them from achieving their goals? It doesn't have to be these questions, but you're trying to identify the ideal person that will be buying that product or service. And I go through this with every client. I don't do anything until I do this with that client. At the minimum, I go through their character traits, because when you're designing for a business or whatever, you have to think about the other people at the other side and appeal to their personality and appeal to the problems that they're facing. So if you want them to feel like optimistic, or if you want them to feel, if they're generous or determined, it lets you know what kind of language to speak to them. You see what I mean? If they're people that are really optimistic, of course they'll need optimistic language.
Yeah.
Not that you're necessarily going to be doing tone of voice, but I think it's very useful to know that when you're designing like a logo, for example. Then you go down to what they specialize in. If there was one thing that they were really, really, really good at, what would it be? Some people I'm a fitness instructor. Yeah, but what about you makes you different? If I'm going too fast, I can.
No, I'm with you.
Slow down, yeah? Okay,
no, I'm
great.
with you.
I'm just trying to condense this as much as possible, because I know it's a lot of information, but I want it to make sense to you. But what I'll do is that I'll send you this thing. I'll take off the bits that you don't really need at the moment. And then you can kind of experiment with it, add to it, play with it, add more questions to it, do whatever you want with it, and then make your own from it.
Okay. Thank you.
But then like brands, I tell everyone you need to specialize in something. Even as a designer, I think you should specialize in something. But when I'm talking to a business, I want to know what comes out of their logo is going to represent all of these things, their personality and character traits, and the specialism, the speciality or whatever it is. That's going to be included in the identity that you give them. And then we have the last section, which is like the why. So that comes down to the core values and their vision and their mission. So if you would think about a vision and a mission, you have a vision statement and a mission statement. And a vision is like where you're trying to get to, the whole kind of like the end goal. It's very future based. But then the mission is like, oh, how do you get there day to day? So asking them that kind of question makes them kind of think, okay, what are we actually trying to do? What's the goal here? So I think IKEA is to create a better everyday life for the many people. So it comes out in their branding and it comes out in all their products that everything is accessible for every single person. And then their mission, how they achieve that, is making prices so low that anybody can afford them. So all the stuff is going to be priced very low. Their brand isn't very premium. It's it's like an everyman brand.
Yeah.
You don't go on an IKEA site and be like, oh, I can't afford this. You can probably afford some stuff there, because they want it to be accessible. So that's how I split it up into those 3 stages. But like I said, I'm going to send these all over to you. And you can kind of top and tail. But the most important stuff when it comes to the branding at first, and then you can expand, is the characteristics. The characteristics. Literally get the personality, as if you can describe someone that you know. So we're going to do a little exercise. I'm going to stop sharing here. And first off, any questions?
No, I'm good.
Because I figured that I might be jumping ahead a bit. Okay. All right. So we're going to do a little bit of an exercise here so that you understand what I'm trying to get at. So do you have any relatives? Any siblings?
Yes. I have an older brother.
Siblings. Older brother.
Older brother, older sister. Yeah.
Older brother and older sister. Okay. What's your older brother's name?
Joshua.
Joshua, yeah? Mm-hmm. All right. Give me 5 words to describe what his personality is.
Ooh, that's interesting. Joshua is humble. I would say humble, hardworking, giving. How many was that? Humble, hardworking, giving.
That's 3.
Okay. Say bold. And kind-hearted.
Kind-hearted. Okay. So you see how easy that was for you. You could do it quite quickly.
Yeah.
So when you want, it's the same for like when any kind of brand, you need to be able to describe them very easily, just like that. If I was to describe Apple, I'll say simple, innovative, less is more, futuristic, minimal. These kind of things will come up in mind, because it's very deliberate how they demonstrate those values, those characteristics. So what I'm going to do is, using the example that we had last week, the example business, which was, if I remember right, the African finger food business, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So what we're going to need to do, I think we can do it right now. And it honestly don't have to be, because this is a fake business. So it doesn't actually exist. But what I want you to do is write up to, give me 6 characteristics of imagine what this African finger food company would be like in terms of characteristics. And give me just 6 words to describe what the characteristics would be. The same way you just described your brother.
Okay. Let's see. First word, I guess, inviting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Inviting.
Mm-hmm.
Unique.
Okay.
I don't want to use similes. So what I say, inviting, unique, very expressive, inviting, unique, expressive, innovative, and trying to say, writing, expressive, unique, innovative. Sorry.
Oh no, there's no sorry. It takes time.
Yeah.
Inviting, innovative, unique. Give me one more. One more will do.
Did you put the expressive part?
Yeah. Inviting,
Okay.
expressive, innovative, unique,
I'll use bold again. I
bold.
don't know.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's absolutely fine. Bold.
Okay.
Okay, great. Awesome. All right. So this is why it's so important to like ask the clients this, because they don't think about it. They just kind of they're like, oh,
Yeah.
I just want to launch a business and I want something that looks nice. But the value you give them is to solve their problems and give them things that they wouldn't have thought about. So you're not just a designer. You're actually you're pretty much a business consultant. You're not just a
Yeah.
designer. You see what I mean? So when it comes to branding, this is really important, and as a minimum, you need to do that for them and for the client and for the target audience. Minimum. But I would say for now, for this purpose of what we're doing, just do characteristics for the brand and characteristics for their target audience, and make them very unique. And when it comes to the target audience, it's about being very specific, not just about their personality, but like what the day-to-day life might be, and what their problems, the problems that they're facing might be, and what might appeal to them. You don't have to do it now, but when we finish this call, I think the homework for you would be to do the audience part.
The target audience.
Yeah, the brainstorm
Okay.
for the target audience, and just imagining
Okay.
what the ideal audience for this African finger food business would be, and start brainstorming everything you can think of regarding that target audience, from the things that they like, the tastes, or whatever it is. And that will help you narrow down the way you start sketching and designing their logo and their colors and all that kind of stuff.
So am I
Because it's got to appeal to
creating?
them.
Okay. Am I
Yeah.
just the target audience in general, or like creating a persona?
A persona,
Okay.
literally. Yeah. Because when we say target audience, it's too
Broad.
big.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's too broad. So you end up trying to target everyone, and that's not really what you should be doing. You need to know exactly who will buy your product, or exactly who would sign up to your service, or it is, and it's your job to help guide them through that.
Yeah.
Um, and one thing that helps me is I like to do a lot of mood boards, and I use things like you can use PowerPoint, you can use Microsoft Word, and what I would normally do, I'm going to share my screen again. I'm going to show you what I would normally kind of do. So I've just made a quick Google Slides thing, and I've written down, okay, inviting, expressive, innovative, and bold. So what I would normally do is, if I went to Google and I was like, okay, and I searched for things that were expressive. I know you can't see my Google right now. I think what I should do is I'm going to share my whole window actually, so you can see exactly what I'm doing. Window, Riverside. Okay, great. Right, so if I said, okay, expressive in Google, it comes up with a lot of these kind of stuff. So, oh, I like the look of that. I'll copy that and I'll chuck it in here, for example. And it's like, okay, expressive. So you're getting a lot of like expressive art actually, a lot of bright colors. You have like smiles, okay, like that. Oops, I pasted the wrong thing. Fun. So I'll copy that, for example. And then you just get loads of images and you're like, okay, what else do I like? That's a bit expressive. I really like, the bright colors of this. I'm not saying this is exactly what you would do, but you just make a whole mood board of things that are like inspirational for you. It's like, okay, what's quite unique? One good website is Pexels. Pexels has some really cool high quality images. So if I'm like, okay, if I said unique, I don't know what it's going to come up with, but then it's like, okay, it's coming up with stuff like this. Okay, patterns with something different in the middle. Okay, that looks pretty cool. So what you're doing right now is, because you have the characteristics, this is after you've done the whole characteristics and stuff like that. You start taking pictures that relate to those characteristics, and you're like, okay, what else is unique? Oh, okay, these are cool shapes. Well, okay, I'm tired of this one. Now it's like, okay, it's an African food business. So you need to search for images that are also like in context of what the business is. So if I say West African food, for example, in Google Images, you have all your West African food and stuff. Like, okay, the colors, of course, there's the jollof that everyone always goes to, but it's not finger food, so I'm going to leave that. But we have things like, okay, this plantain, you could probably make some patterns from that. That'll be quite cool. You have, what else makes good finger food? We have, okay, West African finger food, for example. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. We have like, okay, puff puff, which is interesting as well. Then you have what else have we got for finger food? They use a lot of nuts. Chin chin. Yeah, you have chin chin. So you have chin chin. Actually, do they have this in the States? Love chin chin.
Yes, I mean people make them here. Yeah.
Oh, is it actually based there? It's here as well. Yeah, that's really nice. You can even see with Love Chin Chin, it's very bold as well with the text that they've used. And it's very bright colors and they have the different flavors. Okay, cool. It's like, okay, West African patterns then. If you want to be very on the nose, you can have like, the dashiki patterns. You can take something like, okay, maybe that's going to be something I can draw inspiration from, and so on and so forth. So I'm not going to keep going because, that's the other thing. Other thing actually is like West African ingredients, for example. My thing is lagging, but here we go. West African ingredients, you have spices, you have okra, you have tomatoes, all those kind of things. So you get what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
At this stage, it's more about kind of, again, it's like discovery session 2. You're just trying to get everything you can, research as much as you can. This is very small, the amount of stuff that I've done. Yeah. But you can see like how, go on.
So this is you doing this on your own. This is not done with the client, right? Okay.
No, you don't do this with the client. The part you do with the client is finding out what these are.
Okay.
But then you take what the client has given you and then use that as inspiration to research all of this.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I would do. I would actually, and you know what? You can actually still at this stage go to your notepad and be brainstorming as well. But I would do this first. Most of the time I do this first before I actually go to the notepad because I have a direction as to what I'm going to be sketching in my notepad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, let me stop sharing this. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Any questions about it?
No,
and I've just put down a massive brain dump.
No, it's good. I'm writing down as you're going, so I'm good. Yeah.
Cool. Is there anything that kind of different to what you would normally do?
Yeah, the mood board itself, honestly, like that's what I was paying attention to mostly. I didn't really think to ever like go in depth like that, but I see how it can really help in the whole design process. It like gives you a starting point, which is actually would be very helpful for me. So yeah, because you want to direct yourself in the right direction. And not do kind of not leave it to your biases. It's based on what kind of exists, and it's very helpful. So like when you do that, you become a lot more like sure about what you're sketching. I think that's important too, because like one thing I learned as a designer is that like it's not about me, it's about the client. And sometimes you have the tendency to put in what you like or like what you feel would be correct. So doing that really helps in like not being, like you said, biased towards the design process. Yeah.
You really have to take yourself out of it. 'Cause it's not art. It's not
exactly.
It's a form of art, but it's not expression. You're there to solve a problem, and this is part of it. And this is why we charged what we charge, because it's not just us going on paper and sketching some things out and making something look nice. It's a lot of background work that we do. So what I would say is, the next thing we need, you're gonna go away and do what you need to do, but like
Hmm.
what I would say you should do is go and write down the characteristics. So give yourself 5 characteristics for the brand and 5 characteristics for their target audience. And then use that to create a mood board. As many things as you can onto one. You can use PowerPoint, you can use Google Slides, whatever works for you.
Hmm.
And just create a whole page of stuff.
Gotcha.
Yeah, yeah, and use that as your inspiration. And you'll find that when you put something in, it will give you another idea, and it's like electricity. And then you keep
Hmm.
copying and pasting and stuff. Some people like to do stuff like physically as well.
Yeah.
It just depends on the person. But I like to do things on digitally because I'm just that way inclined. Yeah,
Okay, so these 5 characteristics is for this African food brand, right?
yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
gotcha.
yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah. And when you do these kind of visual research things, don't get too hung up on getting the cleanest looking thing, but look for features in those images that you like. So the expression stuff that I posted, I liked the colors. I didn't necessarily like the picture, but there was some
Mm.
colors there that I thought were pretty interesting, like the whole paint kind of thing. I think could be quite
Yeah.
interesting based on the characteristics you've given.
Hmm.
Actually, you've already given me 5 characteristics for the brand, so it's just 5 characteristics for the audience as well.
Gotcha.
Um,
And
so yeah,
I'm sorry.
it's fine.
So these 5 characteristics for the target audience, would that be the creating of the persona of it?
Yeah,
Or is this
yeah,
just okay,
yeah,
gotcha.
yeah. I don't want to overwhelm you too much. That's why I'm not saying
No, no, no,
the,
no, you're
the whole
good.
thing. Yeah, yeah. But if you're inclined, you can
Yeah.
go more than 5. You can write things about like their day to day. You can say what kind of person they are. Are they a man? Are they a woman? Are they teenagers? Do they go out? Are they travelers? You
Hmm.
know, do they stay at home? Are they professionals? That kind of information will also really, really help you direct
How,
it, because it's
yeah.
like a thing of, okay, if it's people that go to a lot of concerts, for example, it's the design will change. What if it's a lot of people that are like professionals and they work in like big office towers? Like
Yeah.
it would have to be a bit more. It will have to appeal to them.
Hmm.
We're gonna have to think of a name of this thing for this business,
Yeah.
but we'll we'll um, we'll, we'll touch on that.
All
We can get there.
right. All right.
But at this stage, brainstorming, collecting things, and hoarding them. I think
Yeah.
that's what we'll
Wow.
do.
So like, when do you actually, cause like, not that this is like a lot, but when do you get to the point of like, okay, now I'm executing the designs and everything?
So the next stage, I would say, is when you start actually drawing the designs.
Drawing, just drawing,
Yeah,
not,
yeah, not
okay.
even on the computer.
Okay.
I don't get onto the computer until like halfway through. Like I'm gonna see if
Wow.
I can
Okay.
show
Yeah.
you an example of something like one of the what I would normally have. I use this thing called Milanote, which can be quite useful. It's a free app and it helps you brainstorm. So let me share my screen again so you can see it. Let me see what I can show you. Okay, I'll show you Deborah's. She won't mind. Oops. Hold on 1 second. It's crashing a little bit. Just want to make sure. Here we are. Okay, Deborah. Okay, cool. I'll show you Deborah's. She will not mind at all. So let's share this. A window. Come on. Where are you? There we are. So let me show you Deborah's. Can you see the Ooh, is it still loading? Here we are. So you can see that? Yeah. So this is something that
Yes.
I
Yeah.
did with Deborah, and it's not absolutely complete, but like I said, like okay, she has a podcast called Trust in the Process. You know, she can go to meetups and brunches. There's a community. You know, she needs a team and all that kind of stuff. But it feels like a thing of what she's inspired by. You can see there's also other things that's like, okay, I like the look of these kind of stuff. But if it's like, okay, I wanted to add an image of something, this thing is actually quite good. It's called Milanote. Sign up to that.
Okay.
It's a free platform. And what you can actually do is like, okay, she's a host. So you can actually search the images hosting and it comes up with like images like that. So she has a podcast I can just drag into there. You know, I like the look of that. You can do text. You can copy links. There's also like, you know, okay, if I'm like, okay, trust, or okay, hands are like trust, things like that. So this is just an example of one of the stuff I'll do. I was going to show you another one. Let me get rid of these because I don't actually want to keep them there. I'll show you another one that I would normally do, which is, I'll show you for, okay, look, like I was wondering what kind of client I can use for my business. And I was taking like pictures of people that were like, okay, these are my typical clients and this is what they might look like. I'd love to work with Oja. There's something called Puff Puff Ministry. I have a client profile there. So it's just kind of like collecting things, adding them and using that as a reference. And then you can kind of export it and be like, okay, use that as your inspiration.
What's the name of the site again? Sorry.
It's called Milanote.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. No worries. So use that, do a lot of brainstorms, and then when you come back to the next session, you can show me what your brainstorms are, or even before that, you can send me a Slack message, be like, oh, this is what I put together. Even we don't need to wait till the next session. You can do it any time. Because the next session, I'm very keen on getting you to sketch.
Got you.
So, and I'll show you the kind of process of sketching and how many you should really be doing.
Got you.
Yeah.
All right.
Do you have any questions?
I am good. The session was very informative. I took out a lot, so I learned a good amount of stuff. Yeah. It's good.
I am so glad.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
If you like this clip, make sure you like, hit the bell and subscribe so you see more videos like this. And if you're a Black graphic designer who wants to join a community where you can learn new skills and network with other people, hit the link in the description to join the Black Design Circle and I'll see you there. Peace.